So size doesn't matter, right? Until it does. Welcome back, everybody. We've got another one of those micro compact pistols today, but this one seems to check just about every box you could want in an ultra compact carry pistol in the way of the Shadow Systems CR920P. What does the P mean? It means it's got a compensator. And that right there is the one time it's okay to compensate. Is this right here. What is the CR920P from Shadow Systems? So this, you've got to think Glock 43, not 43X. This is meant to be the 43, the ultra small pocket rocket carry. But this is the cloner from Shadow Systems that gives you a lot more than a standard Glock does. Pretty much it's gonna give you everything right out of the box besides free ammo. So this is gonna be a striker fired polymer 9mm, also known as tactical Tupperware. One of my favorites, but this one has a compensator. But there is no threaded barrel on this. More about that later. So threaded regulations need not apply here. And what kind of distinguishes the CR920P from other things in the micro market is not only the capacity being either 10+1 with the flush fit mag or 13+1 with the extended mag, but you get the compensator as well. So really does fit in the form of the 43 and then a little bit longer with the compensator. This is gonna have outstanding sandpaper texture all the way around that grip. It's gonna be very aggressive yet not abrasive. You will get a double undercut on the trigger guard, an extended beaver tail out back, both of which are gonna help you really control that recoil impulse since this is a smaller pistol. You're gonna get plenty of serrations all over this slide, the front, the back, the top. You'll get some windows for those looks, which are also lightning cuts. You can see that pretty spiral fluted barrel in there if you want. You're gonna get those traction ledges or accelerator ledges up in the front, which are again gonna help you control that recoil impulse. And they are on both sides in case you are a lefty and need a little bit of love. Out front, you get that standard accessory rail slot, so you can put on something like a TLR7 sub, which is what I have on mine. That is my chosen micro compact style carry light. You're also gonna get a bold night sight out front and darked out rear, which is my personal favorite because you don't need to be staring at the rear sight, usually the front or at your target if you are running an optic. You get that swappable magazine release, again, to serve my lefties out there. A good, mostly flat face trigger. This is gonna be much more of a duty style trigger. It's not gonna be ultra light. It's gonna be a combat style weight on there. And of course, out front, that compensator, which is going to fit onto a proprietary tri-lug barrel. So there are no threaded restrictions here. And if you are interested to know, is this actually controllable at faster rates of fire? And is it fun to shoot? Just look at the smile on my face. Some things are just more fun than others, right? So do me a huge favor. This is your first or second or third time here and you are not subscribed, go ahead and absolutely hammer that subscribe button. Don't actually hammer it, don't break your stuff. But hit the subscribe button, and if you think you are subscribed, just give me a double check on that. Do that discount double check, as they would say if they were trying to sell you insurance. That's gonna do a couple things. One, make sure you don't miss any content, but it's gonna help push the 2A message to other people out there maybe that have never been exposed, and I would just really appreciate you guys helping me grow the channel. And of course, for those of you that need the full spec sheet, I've got a musical selection for you today to enjoy the specs. Let's get into that range footage. How is this little fella gonna feel on the range, being that it is quite small as compared to the size of my hand right there, even with that compensator and the extended mag. It's just enough to get your hand on with maybe a little bit of hangover if you've got XL, double XL size hands. But this is where size doesn't matter until it does, right? Because I think as Clint Smith once said, no gun is small enough when you're carrying it around, and no gun is big enough when you are in a gunfight with it. And we are going to start off with, did I have any issues with the CR920P? And I did. I had one, and it was on the first pull of the trigger. So we're gonna watch the video, we're gonna slow it down, and you guys are gonna have to be the judge of this. But in the video footage here, you can see I just had a failure to feed. It did not load that next round, almost like it short stroked. Slow it down, you can check it out. Now to me what that looks like, I had my offhand thumb kind of digging into the slide real high like that. Could have been user induced that I caught the serrations and slowed the slide down a little bit. But again, you have to be the judge of that. Now after that initial one, I didn't have a single issue with any ammo type that I ran for the first 300 or so rounds that I've put through this. And one of the things you will need to understand is with that flush fit mag, you are gonna have some fingers hanging off. If you've got XL, double XL size hands, it's gonna look like that. No pinky room. And then with the 13 rounder, you're gonna have pretty much full grab with a little ledge that's right there, maybe a little bit hanging over. But you need to understand that when you get into these smaller pistols, because that will affect your speed and your accuracy depending on how fast you are firing. So always bear that in mind when you're gonna buy something that's really small and you've got these bigger hands like this. Now I'm a little bit of a bigger guy, and I don't say that to brag, but that does come into play when it comes to recoil management. What I will say is the recoil was very controllable on here. The compensator seemed to do its job, which we'll talk about my choice of ammo when I ran this, because I really wanted to definitively see if that compensator was working in the felt recoil as compared to the non-compensated version that I also have as well. And because of that compensator, all of the ammunition that I ran was NATO or self-defense plus P-style ammo. And like I said, the reason for that, I wanted to see if the compensator was going to do its job. And what I will tell you is, even with longer, faster strings of fire for something this size, the compensator really did seem to be doing its job. And of course, in conjunction with that additional grip texture all around the grip, the ledges up front on the frame, and that slightly extended beaver tail, the recoil impulse was very controllable, even when shooting a little bit faster than I could normally shoot something of this size. The factory sights on this thing are solid. That patented optic mounting style that Shadow Systems had in the RMSC screw pattern is very low. It allows you to use the factory sights. It gives you maximum thread depth, and you are not gonna have a problem with this optic ever coming loose or off or breaking the screws, as long as you Loctite and torque all that stuff right. Accuracy wise, this is gonna do everything you would expect out of a pistol this size, even when working on some headshots from like that 10 to 15 yard distance. Now I did take this out to 25, 50, and 75 yards. All of those are gonna be based on your skill level. For me, I was shooting a 2/3 IBZIC plate, which I think is like 12 by 18. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but it's not big. It's basically a silhouette like this, and I didn't really have any problems. So 25, 50, 75 is very easily accomplished with this pistol, again, depending on your skill set. Now talking about that trigger, it's a combat or a duty style trigger. Shadow Systems is not trying to give you a 3.5 pound pull on the trigger. It's mostly flat. It has a good tactile response, both on the brake and the reset, but it's gonna be in that like 5 to 5.5 pound rating. When you start putting triggers in these little tiny pistols, just because of how this Glock system works in here, you're not gonna get those really smooth, lighter trigger pulls. Now you can buy some $200+ style Johnny Glocks triggers that feel amazing, but if you want a good combat duty style trigger, this one from Shadow System right out of the box is gonna fit the bill. Now I did run this from a concealment holster, both appendix, like a sidecar style design, and just the standard holster itself like that. These ones are from Hilliker Holster. They reached out and wanted me to take a look at them, but they are very well done, very well made holsters, and they worked out just perfectly on the range, and they have all of these models and this stuff, and even for the Mete and the new MC9 ready to roll. So awesome company. Check them out if you're looking for a holster. They sent those in for the channel, and they worked out perfectly for the testing of this pistol, because obviously anytime you get something new, you've got to run it through the paces, not only proof your ammo in it, but you got to proof that pistol and your holster to make sure you can effectively draw, get to it, and all that good stuff. Now finishing out that range experience, like I said, I ran that NATO ammunition, which has got a little bit more kick to it. And then I ran my typical 124 grain self-defense ammo, which is gonna be critical duty, critical defense. And the one I carry most is the Spear Gold Dot Plus P124, all of which ran very reliably. And of course, even firing one-handed, like I said, it seemed that the compensator was doing its job. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up, because we have been here for a minute talking about the CR920P. So basically this pistol, let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. really does give you everything you could possibly want out of a smaller pistol like this. It runs good, it feels good, and like I said, has pretty much every option out of a little pocket rocket that you could want. Now you can outfit yours like mine with everything, that TLR7 sub and optic, or you can run this thing right out of the box with those very usable iron sights. And for its size, it runs fast, it ran reliably, and I just like the feel of these Shadow Systems. Now, are there any cons to this? Obviously, there was that one malfunction. Me personally, I think I induced that one myself, but I did not have any others. You have to be the judge of that. If you are interested in the CR920P, you've got to figure that out for yourself. The only other thing I can see as a con, you have to understand that this is a small pistol, okay? When you have your hands on this thing, it's going to disappear. You're not going to be able to run this thing like a Glock 19 or a Glock 17, Walther PDP, those larger pistols. You have to understand the capabilities of smaller pistols and that you may have to have a little bit more training going into them because of the size change going from a full size or a compact to something that is this small. That may not be a con, but I get that comment a lot from people that they just kind of didn't understand how small something was. Again, look at that compared to the size of my hand. I do have larger hands, but you have to understand these capabilities if you want to get into a micro. All right, now the price of this thing, let's rip the Band-Aid off, about 890 bucks, so let's just call her $900, right? No small chunk of change, and I totally understand that, but think about what you get minus optic and light, right? All the things that we normally do to these pistols, or that some people would do, not everybody, but with the comp, the barrel, the texture, the ledges, the trigger, everything that goes into it, the sights, all that stuff. So you have to think about that, and you've really got to make up your own mind. Now, this was sent out to me by Shadow Systems for testing. I love the Shadow System stuff. I've bought several of them. They have sent me some for testing. So the question is always going to be, would I actually buy this thing with my own money? Because I have a CR920, which is the standard version without the thread barrel and comp. And it's kind of a two-part question. So knowing that I have the standard CR920, would I buy this one on top of that? I'm going to say no, because I don't need two of them right now. And I don't want to sell my other one. I want to keep it because I like it, because it was my first one. But if I didn't have the standard CR920, would I step into the CR920P with the comp? And my answer for that one is, why not, right? So spend the extra couple $100, go larger, go home, and just get one that has every single thing you could possibly want on it. That's kind of the way I think about some things. If I want it and I have the funds, I'm probably going to buy it. Well, I'm really curious to know what your thoughts are down in the comments. Are compensated micro pistols a fad? Or do you think you want to get into one, and do you think they are going to stick around? Definitely let me know, because I always love hearing people's thoughts, because it seems to be that some people are way over here, some people are way over here, and some people are just dead nuts in the middle of, I'm a stock pistol kind of guy and they won't carry anything but a Glock 19, which is totally fine. Well, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Keep doing it out on the range. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I will see you all on the next one.